I'm the bro, Shawn. And you might have, if you've been on the internet or existed in the last 9 weeks,
I don't think we're existing now.
Have come across something called WandaVision.
Or at least heard about it.
Yeah, it didn't like crash the Disney Plus servers or anything like that.
Oh,
like
no.
4 straight weeks.
God, yeah. Every time I go to get on at exactly 2 a.m. because I'm awake at that time because I work. And yeah, no, it doesn't let me.
It was... The MCU has always been a cultural phenomenon. It has now moved to the small screen and Disney Plus, and for 9 episodes, 8 weeks, because they put episode 1 and 2 together in one. 8 weeks, this has been honestly the go-to show for most people right now, and everything on it.
Yeah.
I will stay off the top front. We are probably going to go into some spoilers. If you have not watched WandaVision yet,
all the way through. We're talking last episode.
Pause this episode, hit that little subscribe button, come back to us when you've watched all 9. We'll love you for it. Anyway, Kriss, wasn't WandaVision fucking awesome?
It was so good. I will say I had some reservations coming into this in the fact that, which my reservations are, in that Wanda, especially in the MCU, and it's a thing in the comics and the cartoons too, her storyline has always been defined by her relationship to men, either, her significant others, her father, her brother. She has always been centered around a man. And I was worried about it being WandaVision, that it was going to, again, she was just going to be sidelined for man. Her entire storyline was going to be only about a man. And I do think, while yes, Vision was a big part of her story, they handled it so well, and it was not, she is only there because of a man.
Because, spoiler alert, obviously, because it's not Vision. It's her. It's her putting everything into Vision, and that's a big thing. But that's what made the whole 8 until this final episode. I'm like, I really like both characters, Wanda and Vision, but I'm like, man, this is such a different Vision, and it's a good take on it. It's a very domesticated, controlled Vision that we hadn't really seen. And Paul Bettany is so good as Vision, like everything. But when you get to that point and you realize that, oh no, this is all of her emotions being poured into a Vision body with what was remnants of the Mind Stone. My goodness.
I gotta say, when they finally called her the Scarlet Witch, because I've been waiting. So, do you know
the story behind why they couldn't use the Scarlet Witch until now?
Yeah, because Disney had a deal with Fox, and they were allowed to use Pietro and Wanda, but they could not call them Quicksilver or Scarlet Witch, and they could not call them mutants either, which is why they don't call them that, because they are X-Men, they're mutants, but they were characters that were being borrowed from Fox. Pietro, since he was also going to be in the X-Men movies,
it's not really even borrowed, it's that it was kind of shared between the 2 studios that they could use. It's just that rights were on it, so they weren't borrowing in the same essence right now that Marvel is technically borrowing Spider-Man. It was more of in the original one that they were technically, because they were in a lot of the others, that while the X-Men went to Fox, technically under the Marvel umbrella, they had a couple of characters they could use under certain stipulations.
Yeah. I kind of see Pietro more as the borrowed, in the sense that he was in the X-Men movies and then he popped over for a Marvel movie and then he popped back. But Wanda kind of stayed over here because she's not really in the X-Men movies.
Nope.
Is she?
We had not seen her, and there had not been any live screen Scarlet Witch until Age of Ultron. That was the first time we saw a live screen. Now, Scarlet Witch has shown up in all of the X-Men shows and consistently on that, but and because why they worked very well. Before I even get to that, let me just say this. Kriss and I have we have a comic knowledge, but neither of us would be considered comic devotees. We have our things that we love, but we aren't grabbing every single comic.
Oh no, it kind of depends on the characters. And I did have a brief Scarlet Witch phase in middle school, so I do know a little bit about it. But again, it's been many years, and I didn't read every comic I could find because I didn't really have access to a comic book shop. So I
seeing these sort of things, and this is why I do actually really love the MCU. As a person who has read a lot of comics and likes comics and enjoys reading comics, but hasn't gone out of his way to read every single one of them, I get the references in a lot of the MCU, but I'm not tied to things. I'm okay with changes. For example, I am one of the few people, even though they're technically gonna, I had no problem with them making the Mandarin a joke villain in Iron Man 3.
Oh, no.
That's my sort of thing. So when saying like a lot of things, it's good to remember that we are kind of very similar in that we like have a good comic book knowledge, but we're not like tied to the comic books as often on this. There are some I know that you have, which we may discuss this time, we may not. There are some characters I know you're very tied to.
Yes.
Hawkeye.
Okay, so
we don't need to talk about Hawkeye here, Chris.
Okay, stay on topic.
On to WandaVision. Anyway, this show encapsulates so many things that they just did a great job, because simply when you think of a comic book run, you have a lot of your big, overarching stories. You have a lot of your like long runs, but what kind of was missing in the MCU was those short little character studies. We hadn't really got a lot, and part of why Infinity War and Endgame worked so well is it was 20 years being formed into it, and you had all the payoff. But to get that payoff in like a lot of other movies, where comic books where they have a lot of these big, albeit not as big as say like an Endgame or an Infinity War type of thing, but they have a lot of big crossover events and things like that happening all the time. But why they get their payoff is because of the little character driven things. And that's where these Disney Plus shows I think are going to be great. And what WandaVision did and stuck to it, despite all the theories and the fanboys wanting things and all the other things, they knew what they were doing, and they were going to, this was a story about Wanda Maximoff, and entirely about her understanding her powers and overcoming grief.
I really like how they did. So, like you said, comics always have the big, like, they come together, but I like that they kept pretty much, this was all about Wanda until, like, the only thing that really, you could tell it's leading into the next movies or whatever, is the 2 end-credit scenes at the end of the last episode.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that are lean, like I've seen...
Well, yes, but I don't mean, like...
Oh, yeah.
Super bad, or like super like over the top, like this is obviously, like there are little things that are always going to lead, and but like the main focus was Wanda and her storyline, and especially in the last episode, because it's like, we know that Wanda, they've already said Wanda's going to be the villain in Doctor Strange.
They actually haven't said the villain.
Oh, I thought they did.
No, they haven't said the villain. The villain is actually rumored to be... I forgot who the villain's supposed to be rumored to be.
Okay, I didn't understand. I thought it was Wanda.
Now there may be an initial tension that's there, but no, I don't think they're setting up the villain, and it would be really weird if they made her the villain post this.
See, here's the thing really about why I would be really upset. Actually, do it very well in the sense that we already
twitches
know.
the video.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm fidgety. I'm ADHD. I have to move. So. Do I need to be more?
Look at the camera, Chris.
Look. Happier? Anywho, what was I saying?
Anyway, so we were talking about the tie-in future for it.
Dr. Strange. So the reason I think they could actually make her the villain is so we see that she has been this entire time. We see in this last episode, and they pretty much hinted at it before, but we definitely see the big effects on it in this last episode, that this entire time, while she's been living her idealistic storyline, picture perfect life, everyone else is hurting. They're playing along in her story because she's forcing them to, but they are hurting.
Absolutely.
She is hurting them, even though she doesn't mean to. That is never her intent. She doesn't want to hurt people. And that's why at the end, we see her willing to start to open up the hex before she realizes it will destroy her family and put it back together. She never intends to hurt anyone, but I fully believe, so the next Doctor Strange, which is what she's going to be in, it's the Multiverse of Madness. Now, at the end credit scene, we hear Billy and Tommy, her kids, who we have just watched essentially die, we hear them calling to her as she reads.
Let me interject something in there. Did you catch the line when she was putting them to bed? When she said, "You are the best kids that could have ever chosen me."
Yes, I did.
Interesting line. Just an interesting line. I don't know if it ties anything, but that definitely was an interesting
that definitely stood out. It was a definite choice, and I do think we are going to see what that means later. I honestly don't know what that could mean right now, because we see she created them like Vision. She created them out of nothing. It's not like she chose 2 kids from the town. She created them. So there's definitely something more to that line, but I don't know what it is. But in the end credit scene, we hear Billy and Tommy calling out to her as she reads the Darkhold. As one version of her reads the Darkhold, because she split herself off into 2. So she could be going into the multiverse to go and rescue a different version of Billy and Tommy, who are calling to her through the dimensions, because multiverse is a big thing in the comic book world.
I'm gonna put on my mad recap of hilarious hot takes.
Okay.
They have been spending so much time teasing multiverses. Part of me is wondering, even with the title Multiverse of Madness,
do you think we're not going to get it?
I don't know if we're going to get the multiverse. And I know that's what, because like the way they're teasing like Spider-Man and all these things, and maybe we do get the multiverse, and honestly I would be interested, but it is hilarious that now with Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man, Far From Home, and now there were teases and, ooh, the multiverse is coming, and both of them we haven't gotten nearly an answer to the multiverse. Now, obviously, look, WandaVision on the original schedule, next week in the original schedule, Dr. Strange was supposed to basically come out in a couple of weeks. Like, WandaVision was supposed to end, Dr. Strange was supposed to come out. We also would have already had Eternals, Shang-Chi, and Black Widow, and Falcon Winter Soldier. So, like,
I thought WandaVision was originally slated to be before Falcon and Winter Soldier to begin with.
Nope. Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to come out at Christmas.
Oh.
WandaVision was actually supposed to be in March.
I thought it was still the way they had it slated, but just the movies were
what they did was because originally, from what I understand, now this may be debated wrong, because guess what? I'm not an expert in some of these things. But from what I understand is Black Widow was supposed to lead into Falcon and Winter Soldier. But when all the delays and shutdowns happened, they kind of have reworked it that actually technically Falcon and Winter Soldier leads into Black Widow. So I think it's now the opposite. They're tied together, but neither of them actually have any like actual things, but I think they have little references in it.
Yeah.
And then WandaVision in there.
Are we still recording? Because it's kind of frozen.
Yeah, it still says it. We're going.
Oh, okay.
I think that all of these are going to lead into it. Now, to get back to WandaVision and all that, because we're easily distracted. Welcome to us.
No way.
The thing that makes WandaVision so great on a lot of this is that it really does encapsulate grief. She goes through trauma and all the different things on losing everyone close to her family, her lover, literally everyone around her is dying, and she is by herself. And as many people anyone who has experienced serious trauma, or even not serious trauma, we can experience small things that can lead to us living out our own realities. In essence, it's just that she has superpowers to actually create the reality.
Escapism is a very common coping mechanism, and she just took it to like the next level.
And I found that so cool, and on to the point of all the people. We actually see the negative effects. It's not all just like a kid, you got through your grief and figured it out. Yeah, she's figured out where her grief is, but she didn't actually get over it in this there.
No.
She just was able to process it at that point and understand that it exists and realize the negative repercussions of her actions, which is why I don't think she's going to be... Look, maybe early on in Doctor Strange, she's considered the villain by him, but I just don't see where the development we've got Wanda, I don't see her being a villain. Especially the line she said to Monica at the end, where she had someone who was literally a friend of hers, and she's like, she knows that they're gonna hate her. I don't imagine her doing things.
That's what I meant when I was like leading into like when I was talking about the whole like we see the effects that she's having on people. She's not in the villain like Thanos is the villain, where he knows that he's hurting people, and he knows that he might have some twisted logic, but he knows in the long run a lot of what he's doing is genocide. A lot of what he's doing is hurting people. He knows this. She is the villain in the sense where that's not her intent. She has good intentions. She's trying to help people and help herself, because let's face it, she did give everyone a better life. She gave them a better job. She made the town nicer. Like she kept the kids locked away so they wouldn't get traumatized. That
woman begged her to die instead of let her out. Like they were clearly tortured though, like in their minds, like
because she didn't realize that they were feeling her nightmares. That was obviously not something she intended. She was definitely hurting them, but her intent was not to. Her intent was to make things better, not only for them, but not only for herself, but for them. And I think going into the multiverse to save her children, it could cause a lot of problems that she's not even going to be aware about.
That's fair.
And her main focus is going to be her kids, her family, and helping others and trying to learn how to use her magic in a helpful way. But she hasn't had any formal training, and she is reading a book of chaos. It is the book of chaos magic, which obviously anything with a name like that is going to have a lot of repercussions. Even if you're trying to use it in a positive way, it's going to be something that is very finicky and hard to mess with in an ethically sound way. So she is probably going to cause a lot of unintentional problems. We know from this especially that her intentions are pure, but she could still end up hurting a lot of people. And as we know, that's kind of a theme for her because so Age of Ultron's a bit more trickier in like her motivation. But let's move into, what is it, Civil War?
Civil War, where she's trying to help and she blows up the building.
There's the fire going from the guy, so she uses her magic to contain it and then put him up into the sky to try and get him away from people, and ends up blowing a hole in the side of a building.
The even Infinity War, when she's trying to help Vision, instead walks away. She's trying to help people and ends up letting Vision escape and people attack. Wanda, even in the comics or in the X-Men shows or anything like that, she is most of the time a troubled soul trying to do what's right, but consistently being manipulated.
Yes.
So here,
that is a big thing. She's often manipulated.
And maybe this is just being hopeful. I think from this point, I don't want to see her even unintended villain. I would like to see her more as maybe if they want to do other shows which explore her more one-offs, or even a movie that is more one-off. But in this Doctor Strange, I don't want her see even as the intended. I want to see her more as the, at this point, because I feel like the next growth of the journey is to fully being either becoming more of a hero in essence. Yes. Not that running around in tights in the middle of New York City sort of hero, but just less of the unintended consequences hero, because I feel like we have done a lot of that already. Well, I would like to see it progress a little more.
It would be nice to see it progress, especially because so after WandaVision finished, Disney Plus was like, hey, you want to check out Marvel Legends? And every episode is just a highlight reel of these characters. So we watched the first episode, which is a highlight reel of Wanda, and it just reminded me of a bunch of stuff that I've forgotten. So we see in Age of Ultron, as she's hiding in the building, Clint is like, whatever happened before, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. What matters now is if you leave this building, if you leave and you help fight, you are an Avenger. You are a hero from here on out. Mm-hmm. She wanted to be the hero. She wanted to help people. Those were always her intentions. Everyone else kind of twisted, especially her past, and they used her past against her. And other people get a lot of passes. Stark did a lot wrong. He got a lot of passes. She did not.
There might be.
So it would be nice to see the growth of her actually getting to be the hero without her being villainized at every point. It would be nice to see, but I could also see how she could still be the villain in Doctor Strange.
That's fair. I said there's maybe a little bit of hopefulness on it, because I just would like to see her be more of the side. Now, I'm not saying she could. Or essence, we could have maybe a quick scene in the beginning where where Dillian caused something, and then the entirety of the movie is though her being more of the help. It's okay if maybe whatever is brought out, whatever villain there is by her cause, but not her ever being the antagonist in the movie, or even considered the antagonist is more my thing.
I do see how Doctor Strange could consider her the antagonist though, because he's a very
I feel like they're gonna work together
black
from the
and white
beginning.
Person. He has worked with her before, but in every instance, maybe it's just the way he's played, but he's a very black and white person. This is how I view things. When we see him interact with Thor and Loki, he does let Thor take him, and he's like, all right, do what you want. But he's a very black and white kind of viewing, and he does give room, but especially at first, when he first meets someone, he's very, you have to prove to me why I should trust you.
That also might be before you saw thousands of universes play out. So
that's true. He could be different. He fucking dusted. Which I guess they're calling blip now. I think dusted sounds better though. I'm still gonna call it dusted.
That's fair. I think and we'll see. Look, obviously we're a ways away from Multiverse of Madness. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of stuff coming out in the future. But WandaVision is really good. And while we've kind of been more theorizing than I expected in this conversation, it's very good. So let's take a few seconds to talk about some of the things we really loved in the show. Favorite episode, Kriss?
That's a good question. It would either be this last one or I would have to say the one before it, because I like knowing things, but I like seeing Agatha evolve, because the entire time I was theorizing that she probably would be Agatha Harkness. And I didn't know too much about Agatha Harkness. I just know people who do, and they were like, oh yeah. And then she's an X-Men Evolution, which I'm watching right now.
Great show.
And fantastic show. So she popped up, and I was like, oh. And she did. I just like seeing her character evolve and us getting to see fully Agatha instead of Agnes, the nosy neighbor.
You love the expositional dump that was episode 8?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go.
I thought they did that really well. They could
That's fair.
have done a lot worse than they did.
They do go through the flashbacks really well. I didn't dislike Agatha because Catherine Hahn is so good at that character, but I do feel like once she went from Agnes to Agatha, she just became an expositional dump, and I didn't care for her character as much. I wonder if they're going to use her more. Obviously, she's still alive. She's trapped there now, but I ended up not loving Agatha as a whole. She's fine as a pontificating villain in a lot of ways, but I was expecting a little bit more from her.
I was expecting kind of a bigger fight scene in the last episode between her and Wanda. There was a big fight scene, don't get me wrong, and it was cool. But like a lot of hers were ploys to try and like get Wanda's power without actually having to take it, and it's not quite what I expected. I did enjoy it though.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed a lot of the
I
fight
like
stuff.
having all the knowledge. I like episodes that just give me like whenever they build up. I like the build ups, but I like finally getting to know all that knowledge. I like getting the fruit of my labor. Lightly.
My favorite episode was the Malcolm in the Middle parody one.
That was
where
good.
you had the kids and you had Pietro, which by the way, the boner joke didn't hit particularly well.
Yeah.
That was I get what they were trying to do. Hey, funny, wink, wink. Look, he's not actually Quicksilver controlled, and I'm just like.
I don't think it fit in with the rest of his character.
And again, as earlier, I just said that I'm okay with the joke Mandarin. So, like, I get jokes and things like that. It just fell flat to me on it.
I don't think, because we've been seeing him play Pietro this entire time, and so
he was just an actor.
Yeah. I mean, a
with
controlled
Agatha
actor.
Powers. Yeah, but with powers that Agatha gave him, so basically.
Well, yeah. But you would expect him to, like, we've been seeing him keep it this entire time, and even when he's like, Snooper's gonna snoop, that still fit along the line of, like, this fake Pietro that we've been seeing. But then everything in that last episode involving him, like, all of his mannerisms, except for, like, the boop, when he was, like, sped around her, and she tried to sped around her and, like, touched her and, like, made her fall back. That felt in character, but every other part of it, it felt really weird. Different. Like he wasn't playing Pietro anymore. He was playing some other character.
He was Boner, which again, it just fell a little flat. I'm okay with it because you know what? I think they can.
It wasn't the worst joke.
Again, they could easily retcon this thing like they're going to do with the Mandarin. They can easily retcon Pietro. They could bring back Evan Peters actually as him if they want to, and they can retcon things if they want to. So I'm not upset in that aspect of it. I'm upset. I just think the joke.
Was it the joke or was it?
It just felt really flat.
Okay.
Yeah, it just felt really flat. Like
I do like that he was Ralph, though.
Yeah,
I did think that was funny because we heard Agnes for episodes being like, my husband Ralph, and then it's just this guy she locked in her attic until she wanted to use him.
Yeah, like I'm okay with that. It's just that the boner joke fell flat. Yeah, like I don't mind a lot of that.
That just felt really
because
weird.
Considering how charming Evan Peters and how good he is at Quicksilver is, I would like to see him. I would like to see him come back as Quicksilver. Like legitimately, I was really excited for that, and that was my prediction for. And one thing I really did get right in theories from the beginning of WandaVision was I was like, Evan Peters is going to show up. Like, that just makes too much sense. But, again, it's just the joke fell flat. We didn't need a boner joke in this weird part. It just fell flat, and that's my problem.
I think had Pietro had been played differently from the beginning, the boner joke might have fit in more.
That's fair.
Or at least had it been crafted just a little bit differently. I just don't think it fit in with yes, this fake Pietro was kind of immature. He's like the immature uncle. But like that, it wasn't quite right, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm going to get some internet.
We're getting way too deep about a fucking boner joke.
I'm going to get some internet hate for this right now. It felt like a bad joke in a Zack Snyder film. So if the internet might come after me for that, but that's just what it felt like to me. Like just a little bit. Like again, it's not the end of the world. It's not awful. It's not there. If people found it funny, good for you. It just fell flat for me, and I just was like, it didn't hit for like, especially for the emotional moments we are at. It felt like a very flat moment. But the episode where we get all of Pietro, fake Pietro, and the kids and the Halloween and Vision learning things.
Oh,
that episode was just really good, and it opened the doors to a lot of possibilities. I also would put, secondly, I would put the episode first flashback episode where we stepped out of the hex and we learned everything.
Episode 4?
Where we learned
that was
all
really
about
good.
Monica.
I would also say
which was really great.
the magic show was also one of my favorites. I like
Episode 2, that was really good.
Yeah. Was that episode 2? I thought it was 3.
No, that was 2. Magic Show was 2.
Okay, yeah. I thought that one was fun.
3's when they
Oh, yeah, you're right. I thought that one was fun. Oh, yeah, because there was all the weird stuff with, like, the blood and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Aside from Wanda, because we both determined how much we loved Wanda in this, favorite character?
So it would either be Agatha, just because I really liked seeing... I love whenever characters...
Catherine Hahn is fantastic.
Cool. I love seeing, like, what she fully became, like, you know, and, like, yeah, Catherine Hahn was amazing. I love seeing everything come into fruition. I love the endings of things, but not because it's ending, but because I love seeing everything that you've worked for coming towards. That being said, I also really love Monica for several reasons. One being that Captain Marvel owns my fucking heart.
There is a hint at it, on it, when there's the tease when we see a scroll. And says, "I'm a friend of your mother," and I know
a friend of your mother.
Friend of your mother, and I do know that she technically is probably referring to her actual mother, Maria, but she's referring to Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah,
100% referring to Captain Marvel.
Because the interaction we see. Okay, so obviously the scroll she's referring to is Talos. There's very little interaction.
Did you think it was Talos that was sending?
Yeah.
Or do you think it was Fury, who was also who's up on the space station because they pointed up? Because Talos we know was still on Earth. When she pointed up, I assumed he was talking about Sword, the end of Far From Home, which meant Fury. It could be Talos. It
could be. I thought I remember we saw them. Well, we did see them in the spaceship, but we saw them go back up to space.
No,
right?
we didn't. They were at the end because the end of Far From Home. The end credit is them.
Yeah, them in a ship, but they're like.
No, they're not in a ship. They're just driving. They're driving along, and they're calling. They're calling Fury, and Fury's up on the ship.
Okay, I apparently mixed that up in my
with
head.
a bunch of scrolls onto the ship.
Oh yeah. I honestly, I didn't even consider Fury. I kind of forgot about him because he hasn't been talked about in so long. I kind of forgot about him. I just assumed it was Talos because of Skrulls, and we obviously saw like there was a small interaction between Maria and Talos, but there was like a bigger interaction between Carol and Talos. So
it could be Talos. When she pointed up, I was just that's where my mind went.
And we know he's still alive, so it makes sense to bring him back into the fold and have him be more important. Especially because we know Nick Fury's not really one to give up full control. He's one to kind of like he'll run thing behind the scenes, he'll hide if he needs to, but he's still going to try and do as much as he can, because we know for a while SHIELD was hidden. He was the director, but it was a hidden until they had to come out because of the Avengers and what was happening in New York City. And so he can run things behind the scene. He's fine with that, but he's still like he wants to be running things.
Well, your favorite character may have been either Agatha or Monica. Monica was fantastic, and we're going to see a lot more of her in Captain Marvel too. Maybe even in Secret Wars or Secret Invasion, whatever they're calling it.
I forgot Secret Wars was coming.
It's coming. It's a TV show, so it's going to be episodes. That's going to be cool. My favorite character is a character that
Darcy Lewis.
I mean, I did like Darcy quite a bit. It was Jimmy Woo.
Was it?
And Jimmy Woo. He's a funny look. Arguably, my least favorite MCU movie is Ant-Man and Wasp. I was bored in that movie. I didn't care for it. Like I think there are worse ones, but it's one that I just don't care for. I never really want to go back and watch it. And he didn't know this stuff. He is so, like the fact that he did the magic trick with the card from that, all the things. And he wasn't just comic relief, him bringing the FBI at the end and everything. He was an integral part while being that balance for Monica's like headstrongness and Darcy's goofiness. It balanced out. I liked the three of them. I would watch a show where the three of them are investigating things.
I don't even just watch a show with just like Darcy and Jimmy Woo together.
But I really liked Jimmy Woo was fantastic. I mean, we were talking about Paul Bettany playing Vision in that different way, and then White Vision, which we'll see Nega Vision.
I think like Nega Sky. I think my family's all been calling him Nega Vision.
I might be a little less race connotations than if you had white, like I said. So
I think of Scott Pilgrim as being one of my like all-time favorite films. So I just think of like Nega Scott and then Nega Vision.
I really liked the way Paul Bettany played Vision. I was super impressed. Like Paul Bettany's awesome. He's awesome. He's been in a lot of bad movies in his life, and up until like Vision, like I was like, Paul Bettany's that guy that is really good in a lot of bad movies, it seems like, but he is so good in it, and I want to show out, like, there's really not anybody bad actors in this, honestly. Like, there wasn't a character that I was like, ooh, I really don't like this character.
I mean, the
much.
Kids aren't the best actors, but they're kids, so
yeah.
Like, it's understandable.
And they weren't asked to do a whole lot.
They still did pretty well for what they did. And, like, Billy actually is on one of my favorite shows, The Haunting of Hill House. And, like, yeah, so I'm just...
They were fine, yeah. They were fine,
but
they weren't
kid
asked...
actors, so they're not going to be the best. But.
They weren't asked to do a whole lot. Obviously, I like Evan Peters as Pietro. Didn't love the boner joke, as we said. And all of the, like, other characters were fine. We didn't get a lot of the townsfolk had a lot of one-offs. You know, I don't remember a lot of their names.
I just like Dottie.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't like her in the beginning. Like, her character wasn't fun.
She had a good moment in this last episode.
Yes, her moments that we saw later were definitely good.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly love the actress, and I can't remember her, like, actual name. I can only think of her name in Buffy.
Of course.
So, like, she's a good actress. I just like her. I will go ahead and say you talk about how great Paul Bettany was as Vision in this. I will say that until the show, Vision bored me. I wasn't really looking forward to it. I did want to see what they did with WandaVision, but I was worried about, the involvement of just making her storyline only involving around a man, and then just Vision as a character. He's just bored me. I don't know much about him in the comics. Maybe he's cooler in the comics, but in the movies, he's bored me.
He's cool because he in all essence is one of the most powerful Avengers. Like he has, his power can be very, very unlimited.
Oh, he's very powerful, but there are a lot of other powerful characters too.
Part of why Vision was not as great is simply because they got rid of Ultron. I feel like a little too early.
Yeah.
Ultron was only a week of Ultron.
Yeah.
But anyway, like Vision, the thing about Vision is, like, I didn't mind him in Civil War. I did but his moments where he clearly had chemistry with Elizabeth Olsen, they had such good chemistry, which is I think why they spawned a lot of this off, because they were just they bonded really well as on that. And then his moments in Infinity War are really good. Like
he's a great actor.
And the sacrifice there, that's where I started to care for Vision, is Infinity War.
The sacrifice, yeah. The sacrifice was really good. It didn't bring me, like, the emotion that I feel like they were trying to, because, again, like, until WandaVision, the character just bored me.
That's fair. I don't think anybody had
didn't give me enough time to, like, actually get emotionally attached to him. But, like, the goodbye at the end of WandaVision is a lot different than his sacrifice in Infinity War, because I really liked this Vision. I thought it was good. We had time to get attached to him, and I came in not caring for the Vision at all. I thought he was boring. I didn't care. I was honestly prepared to just hate his whole part of it, and I didn't. I loved it.
Well, I mean, obviously people who were attached to the character in the comics probably did shed tears for his death, but I think most people were emotional during that scene more for what Wanda was going through in that scene.
I honestly think Wanda carried that scene.
As she had to kill it, watch him come back to life, and then watch him die. No
wonder
to
save the world got rewinded, and then he had to die again, but not to save the world.
And then disappeared for 5 years, come back and realize, oh, he's still gone. Wonder where she got from the trauma.
Elizabeth Olsen's performance in all of the movies are really good, but especially Endgame and Infinity War and then WandaVision, they are so good, and she is such a good actor. I don't know anything about the other Olsen twins, but everyone's, like, on the internet's trying to pit them against each other, and, like, honestly, I think Elizabeth Olsen's amazing.
She is.
And also, I feel like I just have to say, the Scarlet Witch outfit, like the full Scarlet Witch outfit at the end of the show, is so amazing. It's got that cool, like, 90s grunge look going on, but also being, like, modern. I think it's cool.
It does. So anyway, WandaVision. Check it out, or rewatch it, or tell us why we're wrong for loving it so much.
Come and talk to us, and we will talk your ear off about it.
We set out for 15 to 20 minutes, and we're at 34 minutes right now recorded.
I don't think we even talked about how
I don't know how much of this
talk about.
I don't know how much this is going to get edited out or not, but hey, we really like this show. So yeah, check out more of our gaming stuff, either on this YouTube channel or over at twitch.tv/LesbroGames.
We also have merch if you want to wear our faces on your shirt or hoodie.
We do.
Did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
We're good at this. LesbroGames.live/merch. Anyway, check all that stuff out. Maybe we'll do more of these discussion videos, especially with more Marvel shows coming out. Maybe I can even convince Chris to discuss some Star Wars shows. We'll see. Maybe. But tell us what you think. Tell us what you thought about WandaVision. What was your favorite part? Favorite episode? Favorite character?
Why are we wrong about what we think?
Why we're wrong?
Why is Shawn wrong about the boner joke?
I've been Shawn. We'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.